Hi, everyone. This is Jason from this Biblical Cinematic Universe, and I'm here to talk to you about The Final Inquiry, biblical film from 2006 through Rye International, which was an Italian movie company, and Fox Faith film division. So this is a film which is in the vein of The Robe, Demetrius and the Gladiators, Ben-Hur, which it means that it's more of a fictional tale, but is set in the historical context of that time period of the death and resurrection of Jesus. And this one is about the resurrection of Jesus. So the story follows a fictional tale of the emperor Tiberius, who sent a soldier named Titus, not necessarily the biblical titles, to go investigate this rumors of the resurrection of Christ and its narrative. Now that part apparently, I did some digging. Might be possibility that there was some digging in terms of looking at that he was doing that research. But I'm sure it's not to the extent of him like knowing that Jesus is Lord at the end and all that. But this film has basically is like a sequel. You could call it like a sequel to Passion of Christ, Resurrection of Christ. But this film is mostly after Jesus has already had been risen from the dead, and in 40 days have passed and ascended into heaven. This is mostly after that. So let me go over the actors first before I get into the story. We got Daniele Liotis as Titus, who is an unknown Italian actor, but he's a great job as this Roman soldier who's kind of on this mission. He's a very similar character to the character that is played by Joseph Fiennes in the movie Risen. He's a Roman soldier. He's a spy. He's supposed to look after and find out whether this really happened and what's going on with this religion, and whether they're a threat to the empire. Dolph Lundgren, who's of course known for the Rocky franchise, the '80s Punisher movie, Expendables, Masters of the Universe, to name just quite a few movies. He plays Brixus, which is a German soldier who has been recruited, either was told be a slave or be a soldier, and he basically his line is "Master, Master," and he's kind of like the sidekick character for this whole movie, which is kind of funny to see. But he kind of plays a sidekick character that you might see in a movie like Hercules or Conan or Barbarian or something like that. So other actors in here is just a mix of well-known Bible actors as well as some little lesser-known Bible actors from Italian films. So you have Histro Shopoff. He played Pontius Pilate in The Passion of Christ, my favorite Pontius Pilate, by the way. And he plays in this film Pontius Pilate, and it's awesome. And it's the same exact thing, pretty much. But this version is dubbed from when Passion, of course, he was speaking in Italian or whatever it was, and in this one he is dubbed. It seems like he's dubbed over by a British actor, but he's still a great performance. I really liked it. He brings a lot of gravitas to that role, and ironically, he also played in a Barabbas Bible movie, but as a different character, not as Pontius Pilate in that one, which is ironic because Barabbas was freed by Pontius Pilate. My brain's fried. We have Christo Jivkov plays Stephen, as in the Apostle Stephen from the Bible. So you do see that storyline from the Bible, and he played in Passion of the Christ John the Beloved, the one who sat in the right hand of Jesus and was at the cross. That's kind of cool to see him in here, even though he's not John the Beloved. Ornella Muddy as Mary Magdalene, most famous for the Flash Gordon movie of the 80s, but she also played in a biblical film as Vashti, which was the first queen of King Xerxes before he married Esther, and so in our biblical TV film from Italy, of course. F. Murray Abraham is a famous actor for some people. He and he's been in multiple different films. But and from a Bible standpoint, he plays Tabitha's father, the character Tabitha from the Bible, in the Book of Acts. But also played in Noah's Ark as Lot. Yes, I did say Lot. It was kind of they mixed up the storylines just to merge them in. He also played, ironically, Noah in Muppets from Space. I kid you not, Muppets from Space. Because there was a dream sequence where Gonzo dreams that he has to go to Noah's Ark and he misses the boat because they don't know what kind of animal to identify him as. Which is kind of funny. And you're doomed, Noah says. And he was also in a few other smaller biblical TV shows. Max von Sydow is best known for greatest story ever told as Jesus. He plays Emperor Tiberius in this. He also was Flash Gordon in Ming the Merciless. He was in Dune, and he was also in other biblical films like Samson Delilah TV movie from the 80s, as well as played an old King David in a Solomon TV film. So he has a lot of Bible, smaller Bible film cred, but also large-scale Bible film cred. Probably one of the most recognizable actors who ever played Jesus. Beyond probably Ted Neely as from Jesus Christ Superstar, and I would say Jim Caviezel as Passion, and Jeffrey Hunter, King of Kings, and probably the most famous one is Robert Powell from Jesus of Nazareth. So he's one of the most famous Jesus actors. But he's in this as Tiberius. Enrico Verso is Peter, also played Joshua in an Italian Moses movie, but also played Judas Iscariot in another Jesus movie. I've seen a theme here of like them swapping out roles. And then Monica Fabrizio Bucci plays Jesus. He's only in it a small appearance, all in flashbacks too. But he was an Italian actor unknown. And then Monica Cruz is the sister of Penelope Cruz, and she plays Tabitha, who again is from the Book of Acts. So the storylines in this that are biblical that are in this film include because it takes place after the 40 days that Jesus had been resurrected and then ascended into heaven. The biblical stories in this include Saul of Tarsus persecuting the church. Spoiler alert, he never gets converted in this story, which could have been an interesting sequel. You have flashbacks to, as people describe, what happened on the cross. That's kind of cool. So you do have some of the soldiers as well, giving their flashbacks and point of view of what happened. You have the flashback to Lazarus being raised from the dead. You also have an interesting storyline where Saul tries to disprove that. That was kind of cool. So the movie isn't just an apologetics film. That's what's interesting about this movie to me. It's not just an apologetics film like, oh, here are the ways that I can prove to you that Jesus raised from the dead. It follows a storyline. And one of the main storylines in typical, older biblical epics is there's a love interest. And so that becomes one of the main storylines, especially towards the end, is, the Roman who falls in love with the faithful Jew. That was a great storyline in this movie. So yeah, there were those sprinkles of those biblical stories. There's also some sprinkles of some historical stories, like the rise of Caligula, the death of Tiberius, Tiberius doing this inquiry, and as well as, the historical things going on with Pontius Pilate as well. So I thought that was kind of cool and interesting too. So highly recommend this film. I'm going to give it, I'll give it an 8. I'm feeling generous today because it is something, and it's a good action adventure film. I think it'll have a broader appeal to more people. But it's probably not as well known, but check for it online. See if you can find it, or see if you can find an old DVD that you can buy. This is Jason Manger for the Biblical Cinematic Universe. Till next time, bye.